Hey, this is the Two Player Podcast. I'm Eric Kane.
I'm Paul Tassi.
We are here to talk about our favorite show in the whole world, most amazing show ever made, the show that no one should ever criticize if they don't want to receive harassment and death threats. The Walking Dead.
I feel like 20 people just hit the thumbs down button on YouTube by the time you finish that sentence.
No. This time we're going to get likes because this time we liked it. We mostly liked it.
No, they'll still hate us, but
people who hate it, they will dislike it and threaten us. You just can't win. You can't win.
But you're right. We did both really like this episode. I thought this was one of the best episodes in probably like 2 years, or year and a half.
Probably, yeah.
At least. It was kind of out of nowhere, shockingly good.
It was a new director that had never directed an episode before.
Was it? I was wondering that. Okay.
Yeah, and it was the writer had written at least a couple episodes as far back as like season 2. So, and was a and had worked for Frank Darabont before that, before even starting on The Walking Dead. So I think we had just maybe there was a little bit of like new blood and like old blood coming together to put together a better episode than what we've seen. Even though I think there were still some problems, maybe we should just get the problems out of the way before we talk about the good stuff.
Problems out of the way.
Yeah.
Okay. I wrote about this yesterday. My biggest problem was all the gun fighting and the use of guns in the episode. Yeah. Particularly, like I thought the Rick and Daryl car chase was going to be awesome. Like that seemed like such a cool moment where Carol's like, "Oh, they're not getting away," and then you hear Daryl's bike, and it's like, dun, 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 dun. Like that was a really cool kind of transition, and that was a neat scene. Except the way the scene played out was like something out of, like a movie from like the 50s or something, with these like weird zooms and like the filming was bad, but then the dude takes the 50 cal out of the box, and I don't even know if you could set it up there, but anyway, like starts laying into Rick and Daryl, who are driving a bike and a Jeep respectively, and just like either The Walking Dead doesn't like understand like what these kind of guns can do, or they just don't have the budget or don't care to make them look realistic.
Understand. Here's the thing. They do understand. They understand what those 50 cals could do because they did it last week.
It's also a huge plot point that the 50 cals can like save the day. So.
They tore up Ezekiel's whole army. And this week we see like arms missing and
like
holes
huge
like
chunks
the
blown out
size
of people.
Yeah. It was a gruesome. It was awesome. I mean, they did a really good job, like setting the scene for that. But then, once he's in the Jeep with the 50 cal, it's like a pea shooter.
And then, and then Rick's windshield doesn't even crack. Like, come on.
I don't know why they did it that way. When they could have just had him like, they could have done two things. They could have had the gun jam, or they could have had him using the assault rifle that he had and running out of bullets.
Yes,
since they just brought that up. Better. And then that would have solved this whole problem. We wouldn't even be talking about this or worrying about it. It would be, why do they do that? Why does this show do that stuff?
They do
there's nobody
with guns, like,
and with other things too. But with guns, why is there nobody like in the process of making this show that's like, oh no, that's inconsistent, or no, that's not how this would work. Like a fact checker or like a quality control,
Yeah, that's our job after the show airs.
And it's always too
and
late.
then maybe next season they'll when they're filming they'll remember what we said, but
probably not.
But I don't know. So that bothered me, but that was kind of a very short scene in an otherwise really good episode where I've said on this podcast before, like, I just can't stand Ezekiel. Like, I thought that his character just didn't translate well from the comics. I get the bit that he's doing with the being king thing. It's just been so irritating with all his like high-minded kind of motivational speeches, and it's been very annoying. But this episode was miraculous in that it made me love Ezekiel suddenly. And it deconstructed the entire kind of king persona in a really convincing and effective way. Using a number of really fantastic scenes. The opening was amazing. That was one of the best cold opens I have ever seen on this show. Where first it's his motivational speech, and then immediate cut to him being, it's protected by his dead people, and then all the dead people coming to life. Like that was amazing. It was just fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah, no, it was really good. I think that I kind of laughed out loud at the beginning when it was another motivational speech because I was watching with my girlfriend and I said, "Oh, here it
Here we
comes.
go.
We're gonna get another motivational speech." Because at this point in the season, every episode has included a motivational speech, and most of them have been by Ezekiel. And see, now I will say this: I think the speech in this one was pretty good, comparatively, but it was kind of silly that it came after so many other ones this season.
Well,
You
it
know,
kind of lessened the
like,
impact, but it was better. But it had a purpose this time, where it was
yeah.
like it was supposed to be, juxtaposed against this horror. So it made sense to have the speech there, even if in the first 2 minutes you're like, oh, here we go again.
Well, yeah, and juxtaposed against his final return to the kingdom, where he walks in with Carol and Jerry, and all these people are like crying and realizing what happened. It's like just the complete opposite of that big like group hug and good
Yeah,
feelings and
yeah.
everything, and he has nothing to say.
Do
And
you
I
think
liked that.
do you think he's done being king, or like done pretending to act like a king, or will he go back to it?
I don't know. He could take on like more of a Richard III personality from this point on. A
Shifts
kingdom
king
for a
persona.
horse.
Yeah.
Now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by the saviors.
Hmm.
No, I don't know. Like, I hope he gets rid of it because it's too much.
I feel like what the arc they're gonna do is he'll get rid of it for a while, and then like once he gets his confidence back or something, or realize that the people need him or whatever, he'll
He
start
gets like
doing
a
it
pet
again.
cat.
Yeah, and
Yeah, no,
I also think they've been teasing this romance with Carol, which may happen eventually. It may be a while, but
oh yeah, but trust me, I've heard from people on Twitter and elsewhere that that's not going to happen. Both because it doesn't happen in the comics and because Carol and Daryl are being shipped hard still.
really,
So
I
yeah,
never got their vibe. Their vibe was always
yeah, sure.
confusing to me. Like I got it like really intensely in like one or two scenes out of like 7 years, but then I haven't felt that for probably like 5 years with them. So
I
I've
mean,
never really understood the whole Daryl Carol thing. I think Daryl
yeah.
general. I think Daryl's sexuality is kind of an interesting kind of mystery in and of itself. Like there was even this whole thing with Beth where like was he like into Beth, or was he like her father figure, or like her friend, or like
Nobody
does he even like
knows.
girls? Like I don't that was its own mystery back in like season 4 or 5 or whatever it was.
Yeah, I just think they don't really write sex and romance all that well in this show.
Neither
Like
was the comic. The comic had a lot more sex and romance in it, and it was not great for the most part,
yeah,
in my opinion.
it's not like I mean, there's so many great TV shows out there that have good sexual tension and this is just not one of them. So it's I kind of cringe constantly. Like really, like I mean, what do you think's the best relationship that's been on this show?
Um, I mean, I guess probably Glenn and Maggie back when that was a thing.
And it wasn't even
Uh,
really much.
it was
Like
yeah. I
it was
mean,
okay. It was the
I don't
best.
like.
I
I
agree.
like the concept of Rick and Michonne getting together. It's just the way that was introduced was so random. It was like because they had
Jesse's dead.
if they had skipped the Jesse thing, it would have been fine, I think. But because they had the Jesse thing, and then like a couple of weeks later, whatever it was, he's like getting with Michonne. That was weird to me.
Well, here's the thing about romance on TV or in fiction. Um, the whole point of it, like at least to build up to a relationship, is to have tension. To have either some unrequited love or something in the way of that relationship, like The Office, right? Like the whole first couple seasons of The Office were so good because Jim and Pam couldn't be together and it was this great tension. There was all this buildup. There was all this like, and then when they finally got together, or especially when they first kissed, it was such a release. That's how you do drama with romance. And in The Walking Dead, like Rick and Michonne just like were together suddenly. Like,
Yeah,
where's the tension? Where's the drama?
it was just like, oh well, this seems like it's supposed to happen, so it's happening.
And then everyone's like, oh, it's the hottest new couple. All the entertainment websites are like, power couple, Rick and Michonne, and all the fans are like posting memes and freaking out, and like Twitter's just got oh God, it's just what it's like they don't even have to freaking try anymore. Just the blogs and the fans will just eat that up. Like
I
it
mean,
doesn't.
they're no Barry and Iris.
God,
Oliver and
I
Felicity.
don't even know what's going on with that these days because
No,
I haven't watched a
quit.
single.
I quit the Arrowverse. I gave
Yeah,
up.
yeah, we
I
both
quit
did.
the Arrowverse, and then all these sexual
Solidarity.
harassment allegations came out. I'm like, whoa.
Wait, I haven't heard the ones about the Arrowverse.
The showrunner, the Kreisberg guy, was
Oh,
accused by like 15 people of at least like sexual harassment, and
wow. Like
a lot of
actresses and stuff,
they
or
didn't name who was
oh,
talking, but a lot of the CW actresses have like at least come forward with kind of statements of support for whoever is complaining, whether it's them or other people. It's all been kind
wow,
of vague, but
yeah.
then Greg Berlanti, the other showrunner, made some like really bad comments about like this is like reverse sexism, like this isn't the
Oh my
answer. And
God.
everyone's like, okay, dude,
Yeah, maybe it's time
let's
to get new
chill.
showrunners. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
this would be a good
So,
opportunity
or
to kind of
no, sorry,
clean
it
up
was
shit.
Greg Guggenheim. It wasn't Berlanti. I think Berlanti's
Okay,
fine. Anyways, that's getting off topic.
it's
Back to
hard to
the
not
show, where
have.
hopefully there will be no sexual harassment
No,
allegations.
no kidding. God. I mean,
Um,
unless sexual harassment was occurring, and then I hope the allegations come hard and fast. But
yes, yes.
uh, yeah, it's hard to keep track of everything these days. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
no, it's crazy. But yeah, but no, I mean, just it's so weird to just be so down on a show and then they just randomly produce this like
Oh yeah.
really amazing episode, which kind of came out of nowhere, and I really don't imagine that would just turn a corner and it's all going to be amazing from here. But that was just kind of expertly done the way they did that. I thought, at least probably for 80% of the episode.
Well, I think it did a few things. Like it did, it had zombies scary again. You know, we had the turning of all his people, and he's wounded, and there's this great tension there. You know, that's again that word I keep bringing up all the time is tension because that's what's really been lacking from this season. But now we have the zombies as a factor again, and I love that because this is a zombie show.
Is it?
You I know you would wonder sometimes, but in this episode it was. You have and the zombies with Shiva were super great. Like the makeup and the effects
Yeah,
there
yeah,
were
the
super
toxic
great.
waste zombies. That was one scene they ripped directly from the comic,
Yeah.
like frame for frame, and that was really well done. The
A lot of people kind of mocked it. I've seen like, oh, how the zombies kill this big tiger, but
no,
I think there was a lot of zombies and a tiger. Once they start getting bit, they might
yeah,
take
like
out a
what's a
dozen
tiger
zombies.
really gonna
But
do against a horde of zombies? Like, A, it doesn't understand that you have to like bite them in the head, if
right.
that would even, so you're gonna kill what, one or two zombies, is even a giant ass tiger, and then you're just gonna get swarmed because that's, I think that was fine. Um,
I mean, I think that obviously, like some of the CGI in that scene was a little, not perfect. But what the big silver lining about that is that now they don't have to spend the money on Shiva
well,
CGI
the
anymore.
the Shiva thing has been tough because like they haven't had the budget to either A, have Shiva around that much to be like really really super connected to Ezekiel and the rest of the show. Like she's been in a couple scenes, but they can only have her every so often. And B, she does not look probably nearly as good as she could if there was more of a budget for that.
Right.
Like I thought in the opening scene, she just looks so out of place, where she's just kind of casually strolling through the kingdom, and it's she's always been just off-putting enough where it's like, what is the CGI tiger doing in this in
Yeah.
this show? With
Totally.
that said, I mean, it was still sad when she died, and that was still a really good scene. I just think it could have been even more effective if they had the budget. It could have been like one of the dragons dying in Game of Thrones, theoretically. If that happens, not saying that happens, not spoilers. But
And
but like those are rendered like, there's fictional creatures, but they're still kind of hyper realistic in a lot of
right.
ways. So I
Well, I
don't think
think that
Shiva
the
has gotten that much
budget.
love.
No, the budget is. I really think it's the elephant in the room with this show, and I think that a lot of the problems. I mean, I don't think you can put everything at the feet of the budget, but I do think that there is skimping going on, and that it's hard to afford to produce a good episode in a 16 episode season for the same exact price that they were producing an episode in season two. And even in season two, I think you could see the budget constraints were very real. Uh, Compared to they in season one I think they were spending about 3.5 million per episode, and in season two and on they're spending about 2.7 million, and that includes a season like season 8 with just like so many characters, and that's hard to do. And
I mean, I
I
think they
think that
should cut it to 12 a season, personally.
definitely,
Like that would be
That's
step number one. I also think some weird stuff's going on with AMC. Like they have
yes.
not one but two lawsuits against them about like firing people improperly, about not paying people right. Like I would not be surprised
Well,
if the show is somehow suffering because of some sort of malfeasance, either legal or illegal, on AMC's part. Personally,
there.
that'll
Okay, so
panic.
it's partly a problem of the way that the regulations don't apply to AMC on this. Basically, like historically, there's the studio who produces a TV show, and then there's the network that airs the TV show, and they work out the price together of what they're going to pay the studio to air the episodes, right? So when there's these two companies negotiating, they tend to negotiate a price that's fair to everybody. But in the case of The Walking Dead, it's produced by one part of AMC and aired by another part of AMC, and it basically negotiates with itself.
Yeah, that's
So
weird.
it's a really weird setup that you don't have with a show like Breaking Bad, which was produced by a separate studio and aired by AMC. It's a very different situation, and this is what's at the heart of like Robert Kirkman and the producers. Lawsuits against AMC is basically that they believe that they're not getting their fair share because so there's a lot that comes down to this. So yeah, malfeasance, whatever you want to call it. I mean, the courts are going to decide what this all means eventually. It could be years. But I think that yeah, budget is a real problem. It's a real hindrance, especially when they're producing 16 episodes a season, which isn't as bad as Arrowverse, but
I
it's
just don't
certainly a
think it's
problem.
necessary for a show like this.
No, it's a lot of filler.
Every season there's a lot of fat that could obviously be cut, and so many good shows are 8 to 12 episode seasons, and I think they could easily get away with that here. But
Hmm.
between this and Fear the Walking Dead, they want zombies on for 32 weeks a year, so this is what they're doing. And I mean, I guess it's hard. I guess in some ways it's hard to blame them because it is their most popular show by a mile. So if they that's 4 less weeks of 8-9 million viewers a Sunday if they cut it. So
Well, that's the other thing.
yeah,
The question of how much AMC is earning off of these, I mean, I've seen estimates in like the $30 million range per episode, and they still only have a $2.7 million budget. So like this is
oof,
a cash cow for AMC.
yeah,
And it's not being reflected in the production values and people. Here's the thing: we're critics of the show, and we write critical things about it, and fans get mad at us for it. But what I always say is, I want the show to be better, and if you don't hold the people making the show accountable for that, it's just going to continue to not be better.
yeah. And I
And
mean, I think we're giving the show props when it did something right. I mean, I thought that
yeah,
was, if I'm not gonna like pretend to hate an episode that I really actually loved a lot.
yeah, totally.
But like when I say I don't like these other episodes, I'm not making that up. I just genuinely don't think they're as good as they could be. And seeing like this week, knowing that the show still can be really good, that's encouraging, and I hope that we see
Yeah,
more of that.
it is. I can't wait to see if the next one is good. I mean, I really this is like people that are mad at us for hating on the show or whatever you want to call it. I don't feel like that's the right term, but they think that like somehow this benefits us, but it really doesn't. The more engaged the audience is, the better off we are. Um, I it's in the numbers. I mean, you can look at my traffic numbers on my reviews are down from 300 or 400,000 views for a review to 130,000 views, and that's still a lot of views, but you can see the audience engagement decreasing. I mean, it seems very obvious.
Yeah.
um, and there's certainly a lot more people that are angry about the show. I have commenters every week that show up and like they hate it way more than me.
Yeah, I'd say there's a lot of people that are kind of on the same page as us. They're just not always necessarily as vocal as the people that aren't. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and this episode also, like other good things about it. There were nice character moments, with Jerry and Ezekiel. That was really nice. Carol being, pretty badass until the last shootout, which was kind of silly, but like her actually taking charge, like ambushing those guys, like that was cool. I
yeah,
like
that
that.
was like
That was good.
old school Terminus Carol,
Yeah,
kind of
Rambo
just
Carol.
wrecking everyone. even the last fight, I thought like minus the gunplay part, like
Yeah.
I thought it was at least kind of well set up where she pretended to surrender, took the dude hostage, opened the gate for the zombies. Like that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, and then she
It
immediately like
worked.
executes like 6 zombies instantly with an AK to save Ezekiel. Like more gun stuff, but
Yeah, it's inconsistent. You know what else is kind of annoying is how they're making the saviors out to be. Like they did this with the chick that was the leader in the courtyard, and then with the guy, the kind of bigger guy in the outpost on Sunday. This last one, they're all kind of like really mean, like cartoon villain types. I don't like that. I like
no,
it a
but
lot
they
better when
do.
the saviors are just portrayed as normal people just
I
fighting on the other
I thought they
side.
did a good job though to this week with the serial killer dude,
Oh yeah, he
who
was good.
who was not like the traditional, like he was creepy and evil and weird, but he was like not the archetype of like buff bald dude or like buff bearded
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. No, he
I
was
thought he was
good
really
just because
different.
he.
He was just like some creepy dude with a snub pistol or whatever. Like that, I thought that was a pretty good sequence where he was kind of taunting Ezekiel. He had the best line of the show where it was all the zombies are following him. And he's like, "Look, they're dead and they're still following you."
Yeah, that was a good
Like you got
line.
him killed and they're still following you.
Yeah,
That was a
that guy looked
great
so much
line.
like Jeffrey Dahmer though. Like I was
Yeah,
really
it was a
worried
little on
about
the
what was going to
nose
happen to
for Jeffrey Dahmer,
Ezekiel.
but glasses and everything.
Yeah, but yeah, it worked. It was good. You're right. That was a great line, and it was nice to
I
see.
don't even think that was from the comic. I think they made that up.
Wow,
So good
amazing.
job. I might be wrong, but
You don't remember every line from the comic?
God,
You're no
man, yeah, I
fan.
got to go back and reread All Out War probably. But I'm
I
kind of looking forward to next week because I'm curious. Like I want to see how the kind of Negan lieutenants are fighting among themselves. I just hope Simon is awesome next episode because I love Simon. But
yeah, I haven't even watched the promo. So are we going back to the sanctuary? Is that what
for at least
we were?
part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
I, Part of it was on the lieutenants kind of inside deciding what to do, and they're like kind of accusing Dwight or somebody of helping. And then there's like some scenes of Father Gabriel and Negan, but you can't tell what's going on with them. So I guess the traitor theory is still alive, but
Yeah.
and I think there's non I think there was a couple non-savior things happening too, but I don't remember with who.
You know, the other possibility is that Gabriel and Negan are secret lovers,
You know,
and
that
that
would be
this is,
interesting at this point. I'd
yeah,
take it.
it's sort of a Romeo and Juliet thing, you know, both
Oh,
on
I
two
heard.
sides.
So I have. There's more baby theories I've heard that
Oh,
I may write about. One I like is that the baby might be Negan's kid.
oh,
That was being just like stored at like a separate safe place under like armed guard. And like I know the assumption is it was that guy's kid, but maybe
yeah,
not. I don't know.
that's an interesting
Um,
theory.
or wait, did that guy have a Gracie tattoo or?
Oh, I don't remember.
I, I can't. I don't know why I'm thinking of that. Maybe he didn't. But that's the theory is that it could be Negan's kid, and then that could be like its own form of leverage. But I don't know if I
He
buy
wouldn't
that.
care. I don't think Negan would like really get all up in a bunch over a baby. He's just too sociopathic. Maybe I'm wrong. Why would they keep it in a different place though? Why not just have her in the sanctuary where all the moms
Well,
are and stuff?
regardless of whose baby it is, I don't really understand why it was kept there in the first place.
I mean, unless it was
Like,
somebody who lived there's baby. Like people were living at that place, right?
yeah, but they were just still guards, weren't they? I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I don't
The whole
know.
the whole
They've never
base was
explained
just
any
that
of
whole
this
base was
to us.
confusing. Yeah.
Yeah, I was so confused there. I was so confused when Daryl looked in on that one room that looked like the room he was prisoner in. I was like, wait, are they at the sanctuary right now? Like, what the hell is going on here? But and now it's all sort of clear. Now we kind of know,
Yeah, I
but
think we've kind of entered a reset period where now it's going to be less confusing and we can
don't
figure out
get
what's
your hopes
happening
up.
again. Like I was not confused about really anything that happened this episode, so that was good.
That was good. Yeah, that it was a very not confusing episode.
Hmm.
Um, well, the only thing that confused me was at first where Carol had shot those guys from, because I thought she was just
Oh,
hiding to the side and then she was up
yeah, that
above.
was some camera trickery to be sure, but
Yeah, but it worked.
Yeah.
I didn't mind that. It was still
Yeah,
good.
I was like, what is that angle? I
Yeah.
thought she was like directly behind them, but then she wasn't there. I don't know.
Yeah. It was,
I don't know if that actually works, but it was fine.
yeah. So by next week, Carol will be against killing again. Jesus, on the other hand, will have decided that they should execute the prisoners, and Morgan will be, I don't know, a pacifist maybe once again. I don't know. It all changes so quickly I can't keep track. I do appreciate with this episode that Ezekiel was given a real character arc, and I wish and I hope that going forward they treat each of their characters with that kind of attention and care, because I like that.
Yeah, well, last season we had all these like individual character episodes that were like trying to be kind of like this, but none of them
Right.
really worked. Like the episode where Daryl was a prisoner, but like that didn't do anything. That didn't like really change anything about Daryl or like
No.
shatter, his conceptions. He just eventually was sad and then he escaped and killed people. Like and then he's back to being Daryl. Whereas Ezekiel,
Yeah.
that was like a real kind of fundamental shift in his character.
I think if anyone last season had any kind of sort of arc, and I'm not going to say Rick because he just kind of went from being inexplicably like beaten down to being inexplicably not beaten down, but was the reinforcement of Eugene's cowardliness. You know,
Yeah,
like
that was good.
it wasn't necessarily like, well, you kind of were feeling like maybe he was learning to be more brave. You know, he was like trying to be more brave, but he just totally buckled and he just went right back to being just a piece of crap. And
Well,
I
now
liked
he's
that.
like brave slash cowardly because like he's acting like a tough guy as a Negan
Hmm.
lieutenant, but he's a Negan lieutenant because he was too cowardly to like resist or stand up to Negan. And he's
Yeah.
just doing kind of the easiest thing. And I am really curious to see how the dust is going to settle with him
Yeah.
because this is a dramatic departure for his character. Like he did not pretty much outright betray Rick's group in the comic like this. So like I'm very curious to see how people are going to react to him because he's
In
such
some
a core
ways,
character.
yeah. In some ways, I think Daryl's whole scenes were just a setup for his, like to juxtapose the different ways they each handled that. But yeah, I mean, of course, Daryl's not going to break. Like, I don't know. We'll
Yeah, I'm
see.
still hoping for a Rick Daryl showdown, but then I guess
Yeah.
they were doing their buddy car chase thing this time. Um, I mean, I thought that was kind of well set up last episode where Daryl's just executing people and Rick's like, maybe we shouldn't just execute people. um,
Yeah, we'll see if they follow that. I do agree that that could make some interesting. We could really have the whole group divided
I
down
would
like
love
certain
Daryl to
lines,
just
you know.
spin off and start his own group that like does its own thing and he like becomes like a bandit king or something. Like that would be way more interesting. Like it was kind
Yeah.
of interesting when Daryl like almost joined that kind of I don't remember what season it was, but like season
Mm,
5 maybe,
yeah.
where he almost joined that like Marauder group at least for
Hmm.
a little while. Like that was kind of an interesting turn for him, but then we haven't really seen anything like that since.
That ended really well too, with like Rick ripping that guy's throat out with his teeth. That was cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah, I agree. I just, yeah, characters having conflict within the group can be really interesting. I feel like, you know, so far this season, like the Jesus versus Morgan thing hasn't been very interesting, just because it's like it's not coming from anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But especially because Morgan was just on the other side of that, it's just sort of weird to have it switch so drastically. But
Yeah.
I do like the idea that like Daryl and Rick could come onto the other side of the issue, because they go way back. They're both historically fairly ruthless, uh, but you know, Rick is the former law enforcement, and Daryl's kind of a little more. I don't want to say criminal, but you know,
Pretty much.
criminal. Yeah. So there, and then there's other people in the group that could split off with each of them too. They could splinter, you know, like Tara now, for reasons I can't quite understand, is like kill them all. And
Yeah, that
what
was
if what
aggressive.
if Maggie went with Daryl or something? You know, I don't know. That could
I
be
feel like right
interesting.
now it would be like Rick, Michonne, Maggie.
Carl.
I don't know. I feel like Carl could be on the other side, and that would be
No
an
way, he's
interesting
giving
dynamic.
food to that guy.
Was he? Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was like,
Well, that was like
he
a
was
random
mad.
homeless dude. That wasn't like
No,
enemy
dude,
savior
that's the bad
person.
guy for the next season. That's the. I guarantee it. Just watch. It's gonna be like
Really?
the big bad.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm hoping they just skip the whole next comic plotline of the new big bads. I just don't even want them to do it, but I doubt that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens next week.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm looking forward to
I
it.
think it's lovely that we got to actually enjoy an episode. I know we complain about the show a lot, even in this podcast where we liked the episode. But partly that's to show why we thought this episode was better, because it didn't fall into all the same traps that this season has been falling into.
Exactly.
So kudos to The Walking Dead for giving us at least one episode this season that we could really enjoy. Yeah. Anyways, we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Yeah.